I want to share some tips and things that you can do to make an air conditioner last as long as possible. I don't like the fact that we live in a throwaway society, and I'm much more interested in maintaining things and fixing things rather than getting something new. Now, I have several old air conditioners that still work just fine. With a lot of these older machines, they were built extremely well, and if you take care of them, they'll run forever. With these newer ones, they tend to focus more on efficiency. And one of the ways they do that is they don't allow the water to drain out properly, and they use materials that rust out quickly. With these more modern units, they tend to focus a lot on efficiency, and in many cases that ends up harming the reliability of the unit. I'm going to take the covers off of this and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Obviously, one of those things is going to include keeping it clean, and then putting drain holes in it. As you can see, I put 2 drain holes in this one. One thing that's really easy to do is to just take the filter cover off and keep the filter clean. You can see that this one is pretty much spotless. Keep that thing clean. Now we can see the evaporator coil. This one is very clean. I actually took it outside and washed it today since it was so nice. The discoloration is not dust or dirt. I'm going to remove this front plastic panel and the control panel. There's screws holding this on, as you can see, and then there's some down there too. So obviously this will differ based on the air conditioner you have, but these really usually aren't very hard to remove, so I'm going to take that off real quick. Alright, front panel's off, and in addition to the screws, there are some clips that had to be taken care of on the top as well and on that side, but yeah, you can see where they go in on the top and on the sides. This is still connected with a wire. You got to be careful when you wash these air conditioners not to get water on the control panel or the electronics. Now if you do, it's not the end of the world, just let it dry and it'll be fine. So I'm going to take the rest of this off. Next step is going to be to take these side panels off. And with these, you just pull it all the way out and it slides up and out like that. Some of them are screwed in, so you have to unscrew those. But yeah, I got that off of there, and I'll do the same with this one. Very easy on this air conditioner. Okay, and now we can start taking screws out. A little dark, but there are 4 screws holding this piece on that rests up against the window. And we got some screws on top, some on the side here, and then with this air conditioner there's one underneath this piece right here that slides out, as you can see. Some on the back, as you can see, and of course there's some on this side as well. So I'll take all those out and we'll pull the cover off and I will show you the inside and what you have to do then. Keep track of the sizes of the screws, because on this unit there are a few different sizes and you don't want to put a screw that's too long in a place where it's going to puncture a refrigerant line. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I got all the screws out. This thing will come off now. Let me just do that off camera. Alright, the cover is now completely off. There is the capacitor. So if you ever have an issue with the compressor not starting or the fan motor not running properly, the capacitor may very well be your issue, and they tend to be pretty easy to find replacements for. Again, try to keep water out of the electrical area, and if you can't, just let it dry and it'll be fine. Here is the compressor, fan motor, and we got our indoor blower right there, and then the outdoor fan. And that condenser coil, which is the coil on the outside, is very clean because, again, I washed this. There's no dust or dirt on it. It has excellent airflow. If you let these coils get all dirty, you will have a lack of airflow, and that'll cause the refrigerant pressures to get higher than they're supposed to be. That lack of airflow will cause the compressor to overheat and shorten its lifespan. It'll also draw more power because the compressor will be working harder against that higher pressure. So keep these coils clean. You can buy this HVAC coil cleaner on Amazon and spray it on the coils. It's supposed to foam up and it removes dirt from them, and then you just rinse them off. If you don't have this, you can still clean these coils. Now what I like to do with the evaporator coils is just spray downward and get the dust washed off of it. For the condenser coil, you can spray in from the back because the air is being pushed out through it, so the dust will coat the inside of the coil. Now in some units it's easier to do that than it is on others because there's an example right there. That one down there has a single layer coil. But this one you can see has multiple layers, so you're not going to get as much water pressure going through to the other side as you would on a single layer coil. Now if you can, and again this depends on the unit, is remove this fan shroud or just pull it up and out of the way or something like that. With this one over here, this actually flips up and you can access the inside of the condenser coil, and then you'll want to spray down just like you would, or just like I showed with the evaporator coil, and wash the dust downwards and then out of the unit. Another important thing to do is keep the bottom of the unit clean. Tip it up on its side and rinse out the bottom because these get full of crap after a while. Just washed this one today so it doesn't look too bad. But yeah, as far as the condenser coil is concerned, spray through the back. And if that doesn't work as well as it should, you can spray it downward. And again, as far as the condenser coil is concerned, spray through the back, and if that doesn't work very well, try and get it so you can spray downward at the inside of it. And it's a good idea to try and get this if you can, if the coil is really dirty. But you can absolutely get by with just water if you have a good sprayer on your hose. And a word of warning with that is if it puts out a real high pressure water stream, do not spray sideways at the coils because you'll bend these fins. So keep that in mind. Another thing that's important with these coils is to keep them straight. Don't damage them, and as you can see here, this is a little bit damaged. These are kind of bent over, these fins. You can get fin combs for these to straighten these back out. Now I have a set of these fin combs right here. You can get these on Amazon. They got all different sizes for the different spacings that you'd get on various air conditioners. And those are nice to have because I've fixed some air conditioners that were pretty messed up with those. You basically want to have as much airflow through the coils as you can possibly get. That will absolutely help extend the lifespan of these air conditioners. Now let's talk about that efficiency thing that I was mentioning before. What they do is they have it so the water pools up in the bottom of these air conditioners, and it covers part of the condenser coil, and that's to help cool it. What it also does is causes the bottom of the unit to rust out. It also causes galvanic corrosion on the condenser coil loops, and that eventually will cause a refrigerant leak. So what you want to do is, as you can see right there, I have a hole there. Drill a drain hole so the water does not pool up in the bottom of this. I have one on this side too. Now as you can see, there was already some damage done to this unit from the water pooling up in there before I got a hold of it, and there's some rust down there. Now once you're done drilling the drain hole and it's completely dry, you're going to want to spray paint where you drilled the hole so it doesn't rust, and try and cover up as much rust as you possibly can if there is any down there with spray paint. chip the loose paint off first, make sure it's completely dry, and then spray paint it. Also wouldn't hurt to spray paint the end of this coil, just to keep that from corroding too. So yeah, this is just not a good idea to have it set up like this. You need to have water draining out of here, otherwise it's just going to shorten the life of the unit. It is very important to be extremely careful when drilling the drain hole. You don't want to puncture a refrigerant line because then you're done. And I would also not recommend drilling up from the bottom if you're right next to a refrigerant line, because it's very easy to try and be careful and then have the drill go through and it'll puncture a refrigerant line. And obviously this is going to depend on the unit itself, but if you can find a good place to drill the hole that's not right next to a refrigerant line, that's good. But unfortunately with this unit, the lowest point, which is the best place to drill the hole, is right by the coil. So what I did with this is I took out these screws that hold the condenser coil in place, and I also loosened this fan shroud. There are a couple of screws. There's one right there, and then go to this side of the fan motor. There's another one on this side, as you can see. So take those out so this fan shroud can lift up. Take those two screws out. Again, this is going to depend on the unit itself, but try to get the screws out that hold the condenser coil, and then you can actually move it out of the way a little bit, so you can get in there and drill a hole. That's what I did with this. I did not leave this condenser in place when I was drilling the hole. And this one, yeah, you can see there's no way I would have been able to get in there without hitting those loops if I didn't move it out of the way. So that's very, very important. So if you keep these things clean and you don't let water pool up in the bottom and cause corrosion, they will last a long time. I don't care what anybody says about the efficiency thing. If it gets corroded and loses its refrigerant, it's not going to matter how efficient it is, because it's not going to work at all. So don't let water pool up in the bottom. It is true that there are a lot of products on the market nowadays that are just junk, especially dehumidifiers. They are pretty much all universally terrible. So it's very hard to find a good dehumidifier nowadays, but with air conditioners it's a lot easier to find a decent one. They tend to last longer. So like I said, if you take care of these and keep them clean, they will last much longer. If you have older units, definitely keep them running, keep them clean, because they're built incredibly well and they'll probably run forever. I got one right there from the 70s. I got some from the 90s, like that one, and those. That one right there is from the 80s. That one's from the 80s. I got this one from the 80s. It still works flawlessly. And a few more, but just take care of them and they'll last. I just remembered something that I wanted to mention when I had it apart. Aside from the fact that they have that part of the coil submerged in water, they have a ring around the fan, the outer fan, that is supposed to pick up water in the bottom of the unit and spray it at the condenser coil, and it's to help cool it. It's another one of those efficiency things, and they've been doing that for forever on air conditioners. But again, it's not going to hurt it at all if you put a drain hole in it. It's just going to help it.